one of the weird paradoxes in the mainstream media is depiction of climate change radicals, and like Adam Smith, if you read The Wealth of Nations, he said that you can lead a fulfilling life being vegetarian or vegan, and he definitely wasn't conservative. I mean, like, his job was like an economist, put a price, he basically just puts a price on every single thing in the world. But he wasn't like, he's from a time where like Scotland actually had like a failed colony. They had like extreme poverty, and he was probably like trying to lift people out of poverty by promoting trade. There was also a thing in Scotland where like you're a measure of a person if how hospitable you are. So you like, everyone's got a B&B and stuff, and like you go around to someone's place and they like put out a full platter of a meal. Like when he wrote the invisible hand theory, it's like he thought people are nice enough, they regulate themselves, because that's what you do in Scotland. You go out of your way to, like, it's called Highland hospitality. It's like everywhere's a B&B. You can never not find a place to go eat and sleep and stuff. So like, and he was like, he's not a Protestant. Like his friend David Hume was actually like one of the pioneers of atheism, and they spent a long time together. And David Hume was like, there was this famous case where this guy at school, one of the universities in Scotland, Glasgow or Edinburgh, wrote all this stuff about like, I will worship Allah over God and stuff, and he was actually hung. And like not long after that, David Hume was writing all these radical stuff like we're all animals and stuff, and like Adam Smith's like writing that we're like vegan is good. And like, so it's really confusing. Like Voltaire, who spent a long time with those guys, was actually like serious like philosopher and like intellectual, and they were never married. Like those three were never married, and they spent a long time together, no female friends, and just like, so I don't think that they're conservative. It doesn't really appear like they are from their writings. And David Hume was like the biggest contributor to atheism pre-Darwinism. This is like radical stuff, we're all animals and stuff, and it kind of ties in with the veganism, like animal ethics, and like, like, so it's meant to be like Adam Smith's meant to be pro-life. You're at a time with Scotland, but like in dire poverty, and communism is actually like sacrifice something for the good of the state, whereas capitalism is like pro-life. You're at a time when Scotland, you know how Scotland is, they're in a union with the UK. They're not, they still hate each other. They're in a union. It's like Catalonia and Spain. It's like they hate each other. They're just not gonna go to war and sacrifice everything they have just to fund warfare. They hate each other. They're just in a mutual agreement. They were just dirt poor. They put all their money into the Darien scheme, and it just like, no one would trade with them, and they just starved to death in South America. And like, they had no money left. So they're just dire poverty, just do as they say. We still hate them, we're just in a union. And there was never enough money to, like in the Irish, the plight, there was enough money to keep the warfare going, but in Scotland they had nothing like that. There's still like nationalism, but it's not, so this is really strange. Like, I think the media has some sort of powerful method where it can make people look illegal when, it's almost like the gossip columns, like smear campaigns, and the politicians are all dickheads. Like, they don't have education in politics. Like Anthony Albanese is like economist. None of them have politics education. It's almost like the Murdoch press is like, in this position where it elects governments and stops radical change, and it can like run a smear campaign over an opponent. Kind of takes the whole like education system in Australia is like geared towards you know, like if you step out, if you think for yourself, then it takes like great bravery and skill to do that. Whereas like, let's just think like Adam Smith probably would have liked climate change activists, and he's the godfather of capitalism. You know, what the hell? He wasn't really a capitalist, he's just sort of numbers, sort of like mathematician, just like if you read his books, you wouldn't realise, oh, it's just some guy like talking about how much an ox is worth and stuff, not actually saying bad stuff. Glad you liked the talk on capitalism.